We are actually live, so we are not doing a countdown today, so I
Okay.
apologize.
It's okay.
But we are live. I forgot to add the 25-second countdown. So I know we're just getting started. Welcome in, everybody. I don't know who's here yet, but welcome in. If you're joining us, my name is Michael. This is Media Manifesto. This is our number 2 episode under Media Manifesto. So welcome in. My name is Michael. I'm evidential medium, and today we have Medium Marie, who is with us today. So I'm just going to just hand over to you and let you tell everyone who you are.
Sure. Thanks, Michael. My name is Marie, and I work as a professional evidential medium. So I think most of us know, but what that means is I connect to past loved ones who are on the other side. Typically, I work in my practice with a lot of evidence, so things such as names, dates, shared moments between past loved ones. And yeah, I do what I love, and I'm honored to be here today. Thanks for inviting me.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for joining. Um, all right. So I remember talking with you a little bit about, when it started with you, um, kind of how, your journey was and where you started from. So I remember you said you were around 5 years old, all right, when it started. And that's when everything kind of started going on with you. So can you give us an idea of what things were like for you growing up, especially like, not just seeing spirit, but everything that comes with it? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. Yeah, so the first experience that I had with spirit, I was 4 or 5 years old. And I know my grandfather, I had never met him. He had died 8 years before I was born. The only photo I had ever seen of him, I think it was at my parents' wedding. So he was wearing a tuxedo, right? He was in a specific outfit. And I was 4 or 5 years old and I was sleeping and I woke up in the middle of the night and he was standing in my doorway. And it wasn't so much him that scared me. It was the fact that I knew that he was gone, right? He wasn't here. So I didn't quite understand, right? So that was like my first experience really um with spirit. I also have had like getting up to go to the washroom in the night and going down the hallway and somebody, I knew it wasn't my mom or my dad, somebody standing there in front of me, not letting me by. Right. And I look back on all these things and I realize that spirit will never show themselves to be scary or to scare us. But as a child, not quite really understanding, it was very quite scary when I was a little girl. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Just these kind of experiences, getting woken up at night, people being in my room. I laugh about it now, but it was pretty scary when I was little. Um, even as a child, I would like, meet people, and I would just innately know what was going on with them. Maybe what was going on at home, or if they had a past loved one that passed. Looking back, I didn't understand that when I was little, but looking back on it as an adult, my ability, some call it a gift, but I identify it with as an ability, was always on. It was always activated. But that was
Mhm.
that was it. As a child, it did scare me, full transparency.
It is scary, right?
Yeah.
It's like I remember I used to tell my mom, because I had the same, like for me, it was like the same age too. It was 5 years old. And I remember telling my mom that I was seeing people in the bedroom, And I know at first she just didn't believe me. I think she just thought I was watching too many scary movies or just watching movies that I guess had to do with ghosts or spirit. But it got to a point, I think, where like I was just being nonstop about it, where it turned to like, uh, well, tell him to go into the light, tell him to go into the light. Because I think I just kept going and going to where she was probably like, okay, maybe he is, but I still don't think she took it as serious as it was.
Yeah.
Um, because I think us seeing those, people in our, especially the bedroom is like the freakiest for me. Um, like you were saying, seeing people around the bed, it just, it's scary. Like you said, you don't know. And I think that's like the scary part is you're very confused. Um, and of course your mind just goes like to worst when you're young. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's funny you say like going towards the light. So I'm very grateful that I have a mom that was very quite open to this. But so she would tell me as well. She kind of figured out herself to tell me to tell them to go to the light. So it's funny that it was actually what I got told. as a
Mhm.
child too, right? Go to the light, or but it worked. That did help me. Did that give you comfort when you were little?
It did, yeah. I think it made me like less. Probably, I think it made me a little less scared and more so like they weren't really here to like hurt me, like you said. More so they just, I don't know, I don't know, like lost or what, but yeah, it did. It kind of gave me some relief, like they actually did go to the light or something. They did leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or putting
It
like
did a little
white
bit.
light around myself. I found that one helped when I was a little girl.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. I that's funny you say that because I still do that till today. I put like
Right.
so much white letter, especially before I do a reading. I'm like,
Yeah.
get in my zone.
Yeah.
And I put that white light all around me.
Yeah. I
So
still use that a lot too.
yeah, it does. And I've heard like a lot of people that do mentorship, they still to today, like even different people, they still say to do that, I mean, I hear from a lot. So I guess it's something that is widely used, but it is definitely, it works. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yep.
It does. It works. Um, so, growing up, obviously as a kid, when you're, introduced to it and you're going through everything, as you get older, kind of like what's your relationship like with spirit? Like, what's your relationship like with just the spiritual world in general as you're getting older, right? Like getting to your teenage years. So like what happens then?
So as I got closer to my teenagers, because I didn't really understand this until like well into adulthood. So even though I felt like I had a supportive, I was lucky to have a supportive mom, but I still didn't quite get it, right? So, but looking back, what the way that kind of transpired for me was always a fascination with the other side, always a fascination with things that maybe um or more whimsical or just more not talked about as much. I was always fascinated by, like, I don't know if you remember this movie. Do you remember the movie The Craft? Did you ever see
It,
it? It's
it
like
sounds familiar. I'm trying to remember the actors.
it's like I don't know, it has like, it's about a bunch of like witches essentially, but it's more like metaphysical stuff, right? So it's
Mhm.
always like or the movie Ghost, with
Yeah.
like the movie back in the day, right? So I was always just more like, I always was gravitating towards these things. I was always gravitating educating myself on like what psychic meant, like what mediums, like even as like early teenage years. So I
Hmm.
still didn't really quite know, but looking back, it all makes sense now. But that's kind of how it showed itself. The seeing spirit as much kind of did slow down as in my teenage years. In my teenage years, it wasn't at like quite as intense as when I was a smaller child.
Now, like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it slowed down? Because, it didn't like that didn't just happen with you. It happened with me too. But like, I mean, I thought about it sometimes. But like, why do you think it slowed down for you?
I think because I think it's really common for a lot of people that when they were children to see spirits, right? Because it's
Hmm.
just children are just more open. Children are more open, animals are the same way, right? Why that is, I don't know. I will never claim to know anything. I'm very transparent in that. But what the closest answers I can come with is children are more open, animals are more open. As we grow up, we just get molded kind of into more so of like what society tells us makes sense versus what doesn't make sense, and we essentially, our brain kicks in and our brain talks us out of it, because like, with mediumship, that's the biggest part of this, is it's trusting from
Hmm.
here before our brain kicks in and tries to make sense of it, right? And so I found that in teenagers, that's my theory of kind of why it slowed down, is because it wasn't a conscious choice to shut it down. It's just the societal norms.
Yeah. No, I think that does make a lot of sense. Yeah, I think too. I think with like just as we're getting older, I feel like our lives just kind of get a little bit more. I would say like not hectic, but just a little bit more crazy, a little bit more wrapped up in like what I mean. Because as you get older, I feel like you get put into more things. You're doing more like after school activities, or you're hanging out with more friends. And I feel like I feel like I don't know. At least when I was younger, I was alone a lot, just playing with myself. Like toys or cars, or you're running outside looking for bugs. So I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot more time when we're that young for spirit to, tap into us because we're not so much, we're not diving into school or like I said, activities. So like I
Right.
always thought about it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense too.
But it's not just that though. For me, I don't know if this was for you, but for me, I was still fearful getting older.
Yeah.
I was. Um, so like, because I still didn't understand all the way what was happening. So like, when do you think that fear turned off for you? But like, when do you think it turned into something else?
I think I almost remember the exact moment of it. I'm going to be honest. And it was probably in my early 30s.
Really?
Yeah, when I didn't really fear this and I really kind of understood it, and there
Uh-huh.
was nothing to be scared. Because even though I didn't realize that I had this attachment to fear, or I really tried to push this down. I didn't want this, right? For a
Mhm.
lot of years in my adulthood. Um, when I finally really realized that this is a really positive, beautiful thing, and it's really meant for love and healing, it was in my early 30s. That's when the fear completely left me.
Mhm. That's
What about
awesome.
you? How old were you?
Oh my gosh. Um, I think I was in my 20s. Because so it was like it was very, very strong growing up, and like as I got older, it was still strong. It just I wasn't putting like as much, I think, focus into it.
Mhm.
But still scared, like still just at nighttime, just like I would hear him talking. I always remember that, hear him talking, and just still like, under the covers, shitting my pants, like that scared. I think when I got into my 20s and when I started really learning about like not just control, but with, you know, being able to like hold the power and really just know that, if I don't want to have them here right now, I have the option of, just asking them to leave. Cause sometimes that's all you need to say is just, can you leave? It's like, it's that simple.
Isn't
But I
it's
think,
so funny. Sorry, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, 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 you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
Um, it's just funny that you bring that up. Like I tell people that all the time that it is just that simple. It's the same thing that happened to me. Somebody was like, "Well, tell them to stop." Finally, it was like in my early 30s, tell them to stop. And that's literally that simple. It's literally that simple to give spirit a boundary and they listen. They listen 10 times easier than humans do. So it's so
I
funny you
agree.
mentioned that, Michael.
Yeah. It was like, because I remember, I remember the moment too, because I was living in a house and, I remember how strong the activity was. And it was like, I was still scared at that point, but like not as scared. But I remember like, and like, I don't know if this freak you out, but I remember like laying in bed and I was just watching TV and I just saw this guy appear out of nowhere. And this is what freaked me out is he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at in the closet where like so much activity had been going on. And I'm like, dude, if this dude isn't focusing on me, if he's focusing on this closet, like, I'm like, I don't know. It just kind of freaked me out. But
Hmm.
I remember just like almost just at that moment, just taking a deep breath and just talking. Um, and the guy left, and I never saw him again. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I think that's when it kind of was like, okay, maybe if I just speak up, like maybe because like I feel like sometimes we're so scared to even like say anything that we just like, stop and just don't say anything and wait for them to leave. Like it was that moment where I was like, okay, maybe if I just talk to them, you know,
Wow.
they'll understand and they'll leave. So that was that moment for me. Um, and then it was like I call it a wrecking ball after that moment. That's when like I think mediumship started full throttle for me.
Hmm.
um but when you started getting deep into mediumship, right? Like, because I feel like we all remember that like first like very clear, that very clear conversation or connection with spirit for the first time. Like, do you remember your first time, like that first like very, very super clear understanding?
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever forget it. I don't think I will ever forget it. It was when um I had already made the choice to kind of like change my life and step into like a new kind of beginning, but I was still questioning it, right? I was still questioning it. Is it real? Is this all really real? Is it my imagination? Right? Is it, you know, there's a million and one things that I kind of, my logical brain wanted to first put this on, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so, and I could only meditate for like 2 to 3 minutes when I first started this. My mind was so crazy, right? And so I
Mhm.
did my like 2 minute meditation, but in that 2 minute meditation, a friend of mine that I hadn't talked to her in a while, but a few years back, um, she popped in my head and she's like, I'm gone. And so I went, like, I remember opening my eyes and I'm like, there's no way she's gone. And I went to my phone, I Googled her name and she had passed. She had just
Mm.
passed. And so for me, that was, oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. For me, that was the moment that I knew that this was, I'm not making it up. I knew that this is the trajectory my life was going to go. And everything that I had endured during my entire life made sense now. So that was it.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so crazy. Like every time you talk, it connects so much with my life too. Because I mean, I even told you before, I'm like, the way it started for you was like the exact same for me, it was
Oh,
very,
really?
very similar. And then like the more you're talking about your like rising and your, stepping into this stuff, it's like, damn, this is just so crazy. Because so like before that happened with you with your friend coming to you, like did it ever, like for me at least, and this is how it happened, this is why I started being like, this is not like coincidence anymore, this is something different. Because the people I used to have people come to me, which at the time I used to just think, oh, it's just them popping up and a memory in my head, even though
Yeah.
it wasn't a memory, it was them just like being there and it's like almost like looking at me and just almost like a goodbye in a way. I don't know, but every time that would happen to me, I would find out either a couple hours later or like the next day that they were gone. And
Wow.
it happened a lot. And I'm like, all right, that's where I started like kind of being like, okay, this is not memories. Like this is just happening way too much. So it was like you're almost your friend coming to say goodbye, or not say goodbye, but let you know that she passed.
Right.
And it happened to me so much and I never understood it. So it's just cool that it's the same experiences happen with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And leading up to that, that makes sense too, right? It's like during beginning up to that, I had been given so many moments of like, this should click by now, this should click by now, but it was just that one defining moment, it clicked. But leading up to that, I would have a hard time almost keeping some like long-term relationships in my life because like let's say somebody's like
Mm,
brother-in-law passed or like their grandma, I would like talk about them and I still didn't realize I was connecting, but I would like talk about them being like in ways that it didn't seem like I was connecting, but in ways that maybe were overstepping, you know? And so
mhm.
there, but looking back, it was always kind of for a reason. Things I was saying did make sense, but it would freak people up going like, how did you know that? Right. And before I had ethical boundaries, because I didn't quite understand everything. But yes, I hear you. There was a multitude of like things that would
Mhm.
happen, right, leading up to the one significant moment.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, and it's not just that too. It's like not just their loved ones, but also them themselves. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, I do.
Like
Yes, I
like
do.
the things picking up off them, and you're like, damn. And you're like, you start to get in your head a lot too, especially like
Yes.
when we're younger and we're not fully understanding. And it's almost like I don't know. I used to feel like I'm putting these like thoughts in my head about this person doing something or being this way,
Yeah.
and like Michael, get out of your head. Like, why are you thinking this? Like, stop, stop, stop. And like I said, most times, unfortunately, it was correct. But again, we didn't know. Like we weren't knowing we were tapping into their energy. We didn't know like what was really going on. We just knew that um, like we were getting this information, but it's I don't know. I think we should just tell ourselves, stop it. Like, come on, stop it. Stop thinking like this. Stop thinking like this. Which it wasn't always like that, but for a lot of times it was. You know what I mean?
Totally. That psychic thing too, right? Because
Yeah.
not every
Mhm.
psychic is necessarily a medium, but every medium is a psychic, right? So the psychic stuff really even showed its head a lot as well. It's just like knowing things about people. And then you would try to vocalize how you knew and people, I can't how many times, well, how do you know that, Marie? How do you actually know that? I don't know, and then down the line it would happen. Right there's so this knowing, and sometimes there were things that you didn't want to know would come up. Before I had very strict boundaries about how I wanted this to work and what it would look like. things would, did ever happen to you? Things would come to you that you wouldn't want to know as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It was, and I unfortunately, I think for me at least, a lot of that came in like the relationship side, you know.
Yeah.
And I think like I used to get in my head so much about it too, and I think that part was the hardest. Honestly, is like you said, finding out information I didn't want to know. Um, with I don't know, for me with relationships at least, that was hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that part was rough for sure.
Yeah.
It was. So, like as you're getting older, do you like when did it click with you that you were ready to do this at like a like full time? Like this is what you wanted to do. Like what was life like around the time when you made that decision?
I had just started to make like a lot of significant changes in my life. I'm very open. I'm in long-term recovery. I'm very open about that. I'm not ashamed of it. It's a part of my story. And a lot of that had to do with me trying to stifle these abilities down. Okay. So right when I started to really understand there was a greater purpose for my life, right when I started to understand I didn't have to hate myself, that I didn't have to hurt myself, um, that I was okay with who I was. And then somebody died very, very close to me. Somebody died very close to me. And that was kind of like my catalyst, my shifting point. Within 6 months, everything really came together. I had all these really significant moments of um, spiritual insights or things just making sense. And then I knew I had to help other people with their trauma, and their grief and their guilt a lot of times because I know what that's like too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Guilt
Yeah.
surrounding guilt surrounding death.
Yeah. I think that like that comes up a lot. And like
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like that I, when you connect with somebody, right? When at least when I'm starting a reading, it's unfortunately sometimes that's like one of the first things to come up is immediately they show that person that you're doing the reading for guilt, right? Of feeling some type of way, almost being upset with themselves or being mad. But unfortunately, they do bring it up, and it's I think that spirit, because like because like you can tell somebody that that they don't have to be upset with themselves, that no matter what decision they made or what like if they made a different decision there would be a different outcome. Like you can always say that to somebody to help them, make them
Yeah.
feel better, but if you're able to provide validation behind it, I truly believe it really does help. You know what I mean?
Those are like the most, because not everybody, we've all done all different sorts of readings, but people don't die when it's convenient. People die when you're fighting. People pass when there is significant stuff. You did say very traumatic last things to them, right? So this
Hmm.
happens, or situations around their passing, right? And so I find some of the readings that have really stuck with me, because you're right, it's like, yes, anybody could say these messages of, oh, they're in a better place, they forgive you,
Hmm.
right? But when that soul is coming with names, dates, past shared memories of only things that you and them would know, and then they deliver that message, it's a different form of maybe being able to reach somebody in that way. And those are usually the most powerful kind of readings. Like, we're just tools in this, right? And like, I take no
Hmm.
credit. It's the souls who are doing this and that are coming through and giving these validations to their loved ones, because the soul is in a good place. They've passed. They're okay. It's the person left here on earth. And so that soul knows that. So they push through with incredible evidence and then being able to give those messages.
Yeah, that's so damn true. Spirit is really amazing. Like shout out to Spirit, for real.
Yeah.
Shout out to Spirit. I feel like they always come through clutch, not just like during readings, but they come through clutch when their loved ones need the most. I feel like so.
Yes. Yes.
Shout out to Spirit for real. Now, when we're doing the podcast, a lot of times people ask questions, and we like just to pin it. And so I'm going to read this off and tell me what you think. Okay.
Sure.
So Kitty Ann said, "Is there anything you personally don't believe in or avoid when it comes to being a medium?"
Honestly, Katie, so that's a good question. And there are a few things, but I'm going to start with the most common thing I hear. The most common thing I hear in private sessions is, I went to another medium or I went to another psychic and they said that I'm cursed. or that I have
Mhm.
some bad energy around me, or that my family is cursed. That is probably the most common thing I hear. And I do not subscribe to it. I have never, in all my readings I've done, ever seen it. So, not saying that cannot happen, okay, but it is so rare that somebody is actually cursed, and it's a tactic for wanting you to buy removal services from said psychic medium, right? So that is probably like the main thing that I don't subscribe to, or I don't believe, or I avoid, right? I'll talk to people about it, but it's just something that is one thing that, like, fear tactics. No medium, I
Mhm.
guys, I've heard crazy things like, me somebody will say a past medium said my loved one didn't make it to heaven, or that they're stuck. What that is just a plateau in the medium's own development, and that they can't actually bring the loved one forward, right? So those are the kind of things that I don't believe in. I don't believe in blaming the person that's coming for a reading, that it's their fault if you cannot connect as a medium. So I definitely don't believe in that. Those are hard and fast rules I play by. If I'm unable to connect, I'm going to offer you a reschedule, a refund, or refer you to somebody else. So yeah, I definitely avoid fear tactics. That's the thing I really do avoid.
Yeah, those and it's crazy too that like people. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean by any means or judge, but it's like some of the stuff I hear, I'm just like, man, like how do people like really believe? Because like some of the shit these people come up with it's literally
It's
insane.
traumatic. I have had, you never know where somebody is at with with their mental health after
Hmm.
losing somebody significant. You don't know where people are at. What we do is really serious. And so when you hear stuff like that, it really, I take a real big issue with it, because you don't know where somebody's at. You don't know where they're at in
Hmm.
their grief.
Yeah, and unfortunately, people do pay. And I think that's the saddest part is they pay for something that's just most times they get blocked afterwards, honestly. Like, and they don't even get that. So it's like they're told one thing, they pay it, and then the person like they block them, and then they're just like freaking out, and now they're out a bunch of money because
Wow.
unfortunately there's really POSs on this earth. Um, but I'm with you on that. I do it all the time. Like you said, I mean, like I've never seen it, so like I guess you can never say never, right? But I mean, I've yet to see it either. It's not
Yeah.
something I've ever seen or felt or heard or witnessed. It's not.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys know that it's not something that. Someone says that to you, just block them immediately. Just, you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
cut it off because all they want is your money. They just want you to send them money.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful though, because people can be very what's the word I'm looking for? Very like tempting or very like
Convincing.
yeah, convincing. Yeah, very convincing. So you just have to be careful because there's a lot of things they can say that will make you feel like, oh my gosh, I really do know. But it's very, it's generalized. Like a lot of people go through the same stuff throughout life, and a lot of us are going through the same things at the same moment. So you just have to be careful. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and I always tell people, like, do your research before you go with any medium, whether it's me or somebody else. Like, I'm not the medium for everybody. Michael's not the medium for everybody. Like, right? There's a bunch of us that work move ethically, right? So there's going to be a medium for you, but take your time, do your research. Does this person do any sort of live streams? You see how they work. Does this person have testimonials? How does that medium take notes instead of blaming, you know, their sitter, right? So if you can see them work on some sort of level, that's a great thing. There should be transparency with the medium that you're looking for. So yeah, always just go. And if something doesn't feel right, we are all innately born with psychic abilities to tell us what's safe, where to go. If something is not resonating, whether it's me, whether Michael says it, whatever, that's okay. You get to decide what resonates. So if somebody is saying something, even if they're self-declared psychic medium, if it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
Hmm. Yeah, trust your gut. That's very important. But like you said, I think the biggest too is, like just watch. That's why I think it's good when, because there is some people out there, unfortunately, that say any medium that does readings on live with in a group or whatever, they call it unethical, but it's not. It's just, you know what I mean? Some people just want, like, I've run into a lot of people with readings that they don't want to wait. They just want to do the reading like
Yep.
ASAP, and like it's totally fine, but like you said, just do your research. Just make sure you're watching them. Just like you said, testimonials or like reviews, anything, and just make sure that that person is not only true to what they're saying, but they have others that will stand for them and give that evidence, and which is really important. So don't rush into it, especially I know how hard it can be when you're first hurting after a loved one has passed, but it's better to wait and to know than to just go off impulse and then you know unfortunately get scammed, because it happens a lot. So I think
Yeah.
that's good. It
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. And it's just, yeah, there's so many different ways, and everybody's always going to have opinion about this medium does this different. This medium does this,
Yeah.
yeah, paid readings are bad, indirect is bad. We get criticized no matter what, and that's okay. I don't mind people being skeptical as long as people are being open-minded.
Hmm.
Mediumship is kind of a crazy thing if you think about it, and if you haven't experienced it on some level. So that's okay to come with more skepticism. I appreciate that in people as long as they come open-minded.
Hmm.
That's the biggest thing. It's just when people come in and go wrong, that's different. But yeah, we do get criticized for no matter kind of how we move. That's part of
Hmm.
what we signed up for as well.
Yeah, that's very true. It is. And make sure, especially if you communicate with spirits or what, don't tell your doctor. Do not tell
No,
your
don't
doctor.
ever. I'm so,
I told my doctor once, and oh
yeah,
my
Mike, I
gosh.
know. I know. I very closely understand that. I'm
Yeah.
laughing about it now, but it can be quite serious. Because they think you are in a full blown, and granted, most people are, like, not most, but um
Yeah.
when you go into a doctor and say that you're seeing or hearing people,
Yeah.
yeah,
They might overnight you.
they might.
Yeah. Yeah. My doctor, he was like, or do they tell you to hurt yourself? I'm like, right when he said that, I was like, fuck, I shouldn't have said anything. I'm like, I regret everything I just said to this guy. I just tried to change the
Like, it was a
conversation real
dream.
quick.
Never mind. Never mind. It was a
Yeah.
dream. Yeah.
I'm just fucking with you, doc.
Yeah. Like, the world is changing. I think the world is changing, but when it comes to like traditional, medicine, that kind of world, yeah, it's still a bit catching up
Yeah.
to.
They will take that shit to heart, and they will, like, you're going to be on 24/7 watch after that. So just be a little bit careful, that's all.
Yeah, and I get it. There's people that suffer from, and that's not anything I'm making light of. I know you aren't either. With very serious mental health issues, and so they have to, right? It's a precaution that they have to take. Like, I get that, as much as like
Hmm.
we're laughing about, we understand why they have to do what they're doing.
Yeah, and I'm actually, because I'm actually happy we're talking about it, because I've actually, like, dealt with this before with a reading where she was telling me that her loved ones, or her really good friend that passed away, she said that there was somebody in her home that was telling her to hurt herself,
Mm.
and she truly believed it was a spirit. And I remember just connecting with her, and because she paid for a reading, and her friend was there, and her friend was like doing the complete opposite. Like, he was just really trying to help, and he straight up told me, he said, like, she's unfortunately sick.
Wow.
So it was one of the moments where she was telling me one thing, unfortunately, but that wasn't what the case. But she was struggling, unfortunately, with
Yeah,
depression. So it can happen, like you said, it definitely can happen.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Katie said, what do your friends' family think about you being a medium? And has it changed how you see death?
Oh, that's a heavy one for me. I really went recluse when I really went into this seriously. I am the black sheep of my family. I mentioned I have a very supportive mother. I'm very grateful for her. My other complete side of the family, I don't speak to. And that's for a multitude of reasons, but mainly to keep my own sanity and mental health private. Also, like I shared, I'm in recovery, and sometimes people will only view you a certain way, and they won't allow you to then turn into, you know, who you actually are. and there's not a certain level of acceptance with everybody. Okay. So, never say never. I'm never closed off to reopening those doors, right? But for me, I have a select few in my family, and they are extremely supportive, and I'm very, very blessed. Some people have nobody, right? So I don't undervalue that for a minute. Most of my friends, I hid this for most of my adult life, even friends that knew me maybe when I was much younger. I hid this. So there was, I think, a shock a little bit, and there's still like a, almost uncertainty. So I've had to take some steps back from friendship as well, especially if this mediumship does not align with their preconceived notions, right? They have their own religious beliefs, whatever the case may be. And that's okay, right? That's okay to kind of step back from one another in love. Now I have a beautiful community of a lot of other amazing people I've met. So most of my friends now in present day are psychic mediums themselves because we speak each other's language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's kind of a heavier one for me. Um,
Yeah.
And has it changed how you see death? So, yes, mediumship has 100% changed how I see death. I've also been somebody that's not ever been afraid of it. Now, looking back, it makes sense, right? Because I was never afraid of death. I was always somebody like, I just don't, I want to go home. Like, just knowing that the other side was something really beautiful, but not understanding why I was saying these things, which again, people would be concerned about me saying, but it wasn't because I didn't want to live. It was because I just knew that there was so much more to the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it has changed my relationship with death because, or how I see death, because I know that there is something waiting for us on the other side. I know the people that we love in our midst who have passed, we'll see them again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, there was a like a he was, I guess, pretty famous TikToker. I forget his name, but he recently just passed. And I remember, like, I was watching a journey. Unfortunately, he had cancer and it was terminal, but he was in such good spirit. His name was Tanner. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tanner.
I don't know.
He it's, I mean, it's really sad. He was married, but his wife was pregnant and he had terminal cancer. And as like she
Mm.
was getting more and more, months down the road, he was getting sicker and sicker. And like his like only wish was to meet his daughter before he passed. And he got to meet her, which is awesome, right? But the way he carried himself was like just it was beautiful to see because he was so like, I remember he posted a video like a couple of days before he passed, and he said, "I'm so excited to see what afterlife is like. I'm so excited to see." He started naming family members like my uncle and my cousin and he's like, "I'm so excited for my next journey." And he was so like, you could just tell how certain he was that after this, it's not the end. It's never the end. But he was so like just happy and so like zero fear, like just so freaking, you know what I mean? He was excited, and the way he carried himself, I don't know. It was just like, it was hard because like I kept putting myself in his shoes and I'm like, this dude is strong. Like, I don't know if I
Wow.
could be as strong as him, but he was like so excited and he was like, he just knew it, he knew it. Like, this wasn't the end. Like, he just knew it with everything in his heart.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was beautiful. And he was like, pretty much like, I'm excited for afterlife. I'm excited to see these people, but I'm excited to see what happens next. He's like, I'm excited for it. But I just thought it was cool. He got to meet his daughter, which is
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, yeah, it was beautiful. If you have time, I'm sure once you look up Tanner, like you'll see just like a bunch of stuff pop up. But the way he carried himself was amazing. And like you said, just like you said, he knew it wasn't it. Like, this was not it. This was not the end. And I don't know, just like how he was talking about it. I'm like, damn, man. Like,
Wow.
even like me, like talking to spirit, like I don't even know if I'm there yet. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's afterlife, and I know it's beautiful, and I know we get to see family. But like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I still have some, not doubts, but just like I don't know, fears maybe. You know? I don't.
I agree with that, and I would be not human to be like I. It's not the afterlife. I'm sometimes have don't question the afterlife. It's like how am I going to depart this world? You know, those are more so the humanness of me. Of will it hurt? Will I be scared? Will the ones that I love be okay here without me? Those kind
Mhm.
of things do still come up around it, right? And I think that
Yeah.
it's very normal. I think we wouldn't. I think we would be dishonest to ourselves to say that we're still not humans in all of this and have these fears.
Yeah. No, that's very true. It is. Now, you know, she asked, you know, how has it changed you seeing death? How has it changed you seeing life?
Mm. I'm gonna be honest. I say this, and I will always say the dead saved my life, and they did
Mhm.
because that's when my life was the darkest. And obviously, there's significant people here on Earth that are a big part of that, but
Mhm.
ultimately, it's giving me an understanding that life matters too, because that was a really hard one for me. Understanding my life mattered, understanding that my life would maybe make a difference, understanding that I had purpose here. So to step into actually like, living and wanting to be here and knowing that I can help in whatever aspect that is,
Mhm.
it's changed my perspective on it almost night and day.
Mhm.
And the line of work that we're in, I really don't question for a second that we really never know when it's the end. So I do tend to tell the people I love that I love them. I do tend to say yes to life a lot more. I do tend to, go where opportunities come up, say the thing, go with the first thought, move from a place of love, like all these kind of cliche things that aren't really that cliche. They're actually pretty important. And once you see the
Mhm.
other kind of the side and how short it is really here, it's changed my perspective a lot on life, and I credit that a lot to mediumship.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so nice. It's it's very true though. I mean, I think mediumship for me as well. It definitely put me in a better place. I think all around with just not just life, but how I view life now and how I see life. Like I feel like I'd be able to understand and feel deeper now versus before I was like doing just mediumship full time. But I felt like now I'm fully able to like just feel so much more and understand and like come from a better place. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because before, like, you know, I'll be honest, sometimes I could come from a place of like, I guess just being ignorant about people's feelings. You know what I mean? And I think now, you know, connecting with spirit and being able to just see, I guess, things from a different view or a different angle, I think are better to understand. Um, I guess what people really are going through, but exactly like how they're feeling and what it's doing to them. So I feel like I'm better to just see, I guess, those things in a different light and be more understanding.
yeah,
And yeah, for me, I think that's how it's changed me in my life as far as like the seeing things from a different angle. Because like there's just people go through things all the time. So, I mean, we may not understand it or we may not ever experienced it, but now I just feel like I could be more understanding and just be more I don't know, like patient, just more um I guess handling it better. I don't know. It's like I could have been a dick before, I'll be honest. I could have been a dick before.
it makes sense, Michael. Totally. Like it's like our hearts get cracked open a little bit, right? And so I understand what you're saying with that. That just at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 people, 9.5 out of 10 people are doing their best.
Mhm.
Most people are doing their best. That's what mediumship has made me realize in stepping into this. Most people are doing their best, right? And to see it from, even if somebody doesn't express things the way that I express things, doesn't mean they're wrong, right? And to move from a place of
Mhm.
actually being able to hear others and maybe what they need from me or what I can, do for them, excuse me, give rather than take.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true. It is. It's it's definitely been very eye opening as far as kind of I guess what's going on, not just in the world, but just with everybody. I feel like you're able to be more like conscious of what's going on around you. You know.
Yeah.
I think before, when I wasn't really, into this, I was just going through life like, you know, not that I wasn't taking life serious, but I was just very like, whatever, just going in one ear out the other. Now I'm able to like keep it in my head and, you know what I mean, actually like swallow it and understand it, and
Mhm.
just be I guess be more present is the best way I can put it. I'm
Yeah.
more present, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely do. And just understanding others' perspectives goes back a lot to that too. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's very true. Um, Katie said, how do you personally interpret the messages you receive, or how is the process like when you're actually connecting?
So, well, I always explain it. So we all have clairs, right? We have clairs where I'm not special, Michael's not special. We're all born with clairs, right? We're all born with these clairs. We've just really learned to hone in on what each one represents. So for me, I'm mainly clairvoyant, which means like my mind's eye, my imagination, if you will. Okay. And then my second one is claircognizant. So that's just knowing. And I'm also quite clairsentient, that's feeling. So mainly what it looks like when I'm channeling is past loved ones. I always say I wish it was like a telephone conversation, or a conversation like how between me and Michael right now, like, hey, when'd you pass? What was your name? But if it was that easy, we'd all be mediums, right? We would be out of work. So there's a lot more going on, than that. So they'll essentially just come in with like a picture, like a picture. Maybe it's what they used to look like. Maybe it's a name that I see written. It could be a variety of things, but they're like flashes that kind of enter my head that feel like my imagination, but they're not. Also feelings, maybe how they would felt right before their passing. Feelings of how you would have felt. Feelings, they'll communicate feelings to me. To that will make sense for the person that they're here for. I do get quite a bit of like dates and names. So that's mainly comes to me in my mind's eye. But funny enough, I don't quite hear them all the time. It's mainly in my mind's eye, my clairvoyant. Um, but that's kind of the process, and essentially I've really good boundaries with spirit. I essentially see like a door in my mind's eye. It opens when I sit down to do a private session, and that's how spirit knows I'm available to come in, and then I close it right after private session. So that's kind of what that looks like for me, that process. But each soul, I found out, I'm sure you can test this too, Michael, each soul connects differently. Each soul I
Hmm.
find connects differently. One might really work on my clairaudient, which is the hearing,
Hmm.
and one might really work on like some of my lesser clairs, right? But others will mainly use my three main clairs. Really good question.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
Um,
what about for you?
I would say it's been weird because like when I first started doing like my readings, um, my my clairvoyance was definitely the strongest, because I was just seeing everywhere, it was everything. And I think the most confusing clair, and I think this is where I think it comes into the fact that like when you do this, you really need to just 100% trust everything
Yeah.
about yourself, what you're feeling, what you're getting. You have to trust it all, because like that feeling part, like like if you ignore it, you could be missing like 75% of the information just based off what you're feeling. Because like I feel like spirit could show you two things, but different feelings for each one. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And you really have to pay attention to that feeling part, because that feeling part can be the difference between a yes and a no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I think the clairvoyant was definitely my strongest, and I think it still is today. Um, but I believe that I think my clairsentience right now is probably the strongest. Not the I think it's like 50-50 right now, but it changes. It's very weird. I don't know if it changes for you a
It
lot.
does. Yeah, it totally
Yeah.
does. Yeah, as we go through lessons, and like we're always developing as mediums. Like there's never like a ding ding ding. You like reach the top as a medium. I don't believe in that. The day I die will be the minute I stop developing. And so I think it is normal that our clairs come in and out, as we understand them. And the biggest thing in all of this is first thought, right? First hit, right? Because
Hmm.
like if Marie gets involved, if Marie's brain gets involved and tries to talk me out of it, that's where the no's will come. And I've learned for a long time ago just to trust it. Just to
Hmm.
trust it. Hey, I'm sure that's similar for you.
It is. It is, and it's like, and it's so funny too because I'll tell people all the time, like very important. You have to trust yourself, especially when you do mentorship. And like I will set an example like when I'm on a live, and I'll go, "This is what happens when you don't trust yourself." You know, like I even wrote it down a million times, and I still didn't fucking say it. And
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
why it's
we
so important to trust yourself. You know.
totally. And
Um,
we're still human and we're still learning and that's it. I know. We still to this day, right? We both will still deal with moments like I say, I will never tell people mediumship is perfect. That's another thing. Mediumship is not perfect. Like on the TV shows, all the no's are edited out, right?
mhm,
Real mediums get no's. Mediumship is not perfect. It's spirit will always get us to our own closest point of understanding, our own closest point of reference. We might misinterpret it. We might have those moments, which Michael just said, if I went, I didn't trust it. I didn't trust it, whatever the case may be. Is most majority of things going to fit? Yeah. But are we perfect? No. Right. And letting go of that control and that perfectionism in mediumship, which has been a huge something I'm still always working on, right? Letting
mhm.
go and just trusting. So yeah, no, totally makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it's also too important to not let that no um, stop you, or don't let that no, bring you down. It's like you said, like no one's perfect. It's this thing is not perfect. Like it's we're never. I don't think we'll fully understand kind of how everything truly works, and probably until like we pass away, and then we're told everything, But it's nothing is perfect. So don't be hard on yourselves, and just give yourself a break, but just truly, truly, truly trusting yourself, because it's just very important. um, you have to. It's like, man, the minute you stop trusting yourself, it's like you're gonna see it, you're gonna be like, "Phew," just start going down.
Yeah,
It's
if you get in your head, that's the killer. That's if there's no coming back. Or the minute your active brains takes over, no.
mhm. Then you start getting all pissed off, and they
Yeah,
start seeing you getting mad, and it's it turns to shit. So yeah, just remember though, like that is, yeah, like you said, not everything's perfect. It'd be lovely, right? It'd be awesome, like you said, if it was a phone call and, okay, I'll tell her this. Yep, I got you. Okay,
right.
it'd be amazing. It'd be a perfect,
And
but
I get why like people sometimes think that's how mediums communicate because we make it sound like that, right? We make it sound like that's what's happening, but it's just for the ease of communication, but it's not what's happening. But for the flip side of that, we make it sound like we're talking and speaking to them. It's just for the purpose of communication. So, but yeah, I wish it was like that. It's not.
that'd be dope, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I
Like
think you're
what?
right too. We're not able to, people get asked, I get this asked all like the time, like, what does heaven look like? Is there this and this? Like, is there is there a hell? Is there heaven? Like, I will never claim to know anything. I will only just claim to know what I've seen. But
Hmm.
I don't know anything. I think does not matter who you are, a medium, not a medium. There are just certain things reserved until
Hmm.
we get up or pass, right? There's just certain things we're not meant to know.
Yeah, and that's such. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that was one of my questions for you. Was look, someone said then do a reading. Hi, Cynthia. Hope you're having a good night. Um, So have you had, all right, so we can talk about religion, or we can talk about whatever, but have you ever had an experience where you were actually shown something, um like I don't want to say along the lines of religion, but just along the lines of what like what's over there? Have you ever been shown, or have you ever been like, because I mean, like you said, you do meditations, right? And you know, like I've been shown like certain things before, but like, have you had any experiences where you were pretty much shown or brought, you could say it, to something on the other side of afterlife, if you've ever been like shown something like that? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, so I have experienced it in the extent of the peace and the tranquility, and I know that love and that pure white love. I can't even explain it, but it brought me to my knees instantly, tears streaming down my face, just like the most overwhelming and it glimpses. And that's how I know that it was something significant because it's not like I could sit in it. It was just
Hmm.
it's these fleeting seconds. So I know the love that is there. I know that there is something beautiful in the afterlife. But that's all I will claim to know. That is all that I will claim to know. I haven't necessarily been shown, you know, if there's HE double hockey sticks, like there's certain things I don't know. I don't claim to know. I just know what my personal belief is that, living is really hard. Living is really hard. Is there a
Mhm.
purgatory? Is there, not that I've seen, not from all the years I've been doing this. Not to say there isn't. Maybe I just haven't been shown that, but I know for myself, it's a really good thing up there that I have tapped into. What about you?
Yeah. So I mean, I was doing meditation once. I was actually with my, so like when I first got into mediumship, it was just something I developed with my guides. I kind of just learned. Um, because like I always tell people, it's one thing to see spirit and hear from spirit, and it's a whole nother thing to do readings. So they're completely two different things. You know what I mean? Because I feel like you really need to like develop and learn how to like have a conversation, I guess, with spirit or to do a reading. They're just two different things. It's, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So after like a while, I was, doing readings. I think I was like 3, 4 years in doing readings. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna get a mentor because there's certain things like I want to know more of. Like you said, we never stop growing. And I just always had that mindset. And I'm like, I want to expand my mind. I want to expand like my mediumship. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I think I just got to a point where I'm like, okay, I want to know more. Like I want to do more. Because things were happening where I felt like I couldn't either understand it or I just didn't know what to do with that at that point in time. So I got a mentor, and like we had been doing mentorship for a long time together, and something happened to me when we were doing a mentorship. And I'll never forget it. It was the strangest thing. And I remember just like connecting with her, and we were doing like this exercise, and then out of nowhere, it just like boom, I got brought somewhere, and like everything about this just felt so real. Like I don't even remember seeing my mentor at this point. I just remember being brought to a whole different place, and I remember being like, it was so bright. I just remember that it was so bright, and it was so beautiful. And I remember seeing this like extremely huge golden wall, and it was like it was so shiny. I can't like really explain how shiny this gold was. It was so beautiful, and but like this gate was huge. It was like huge. I couldn't see the top. I couldn't see the sides, but I remember it just being so beautiful. And I don't know who the guy was that came and got me. I have no idea who he was, but he came in like a suit, like a very professional looking suit. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Like I've never seen him before. Like I don't know, no idea. And he was the one that came and got me and brought me. It's like he plucked me and just brought me with him. And he started showing me this. And um, this part's hard. He I remember he showed me the gate, and it was like really beautiful. And then he showed me this person, right? And from my understanding, I felt like what he was trying to tell me. Now, again, we all have different experiences, right? And like for me, do I feel like there is like a creator, somebody that's created all this? Yes, that's my opinion. I feel like somebody had created everything, right? Well, I feel like he showed me somebody, and I remember looking at at this person, and like, okay, I think I know what they're trying to tell me right now. And then he gave me a rose, and this person said like prepare. And I was like, what? I'm like, prepare for what? And he was like, and I remember like a couple of days before that, I said something. I was talking about my dad, and I said something like, if you don't change your lifestyle or something, like you're gonna die. And then like 3 days later, that happened, and he said, "Just handed me the rose and said prepare." And he handed it to me, I remember just thinking when he said, and I just stopped, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, I do know." He's talking about my dad, and yeah, and then like just about a year to that point, my father, like he was my stepfather, but he's my life since I was a little kid. He passed away,
Wow.
and I did not like. I even said something to my mentor. I'm like, "Do you remember when this happened?" And she was like, "Yeah, I remember." And he passed away, and it was like because like I don't do this in readings. I'll never do it. I'll never tell somebody, if I'm told something about somebody passing or being sick. It's just I don't do it. But it was shown to me, and it happened. And
Wow.
I felt like what I was being shown was that like the gate to afterlife, like
Yeah.
the place, where we go when we leave here and we go to afterlife. And that was like my experience. So
Wow.
yeah, but it was beautiful. It was so
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
oh God,
And it would be
it
make sense
was.
that you were shown that in your own meditation, because even as like mediums, right, we read for so many other people, but when it comes to our own meditations, that's just between us and whatever higher being, right, we believe in, right?
Yeah,
So that's something that your soul needed. Like, I don't have to tell you this, but that's like beautiful. Um, it's pretty cool. I know that's hard though. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing
no,
that.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, it was. That happened, and I was like, it's crazy because I almost felt bad in a way because like I remember like mentioning it to my mom, but I didn't like. That was
Mhm.
it. And then he got sick fast, and he unfortunately passed fast. And I don't know. I started feeling bad because I'm like, they told me, and I didn't. You know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't do anything. I just let everything happen, and I don't know. I kind of felt bad in a way, but I felt like it was just more to help me to just give me time to like appreciate and really like use that time wisely because
Yeah.
like I remember telling like my again my he's my stepfather, but like he's been my whole life, like he's my father. And I remember just telling him the past year so much, like so much, just how much I loved him and appreciated
Wow.
him and everything
Yeah.
he's done for my mom. And like I made sure to really really tell him all those things. So I think in a way it was for me, like you
It was
said.
for you. It was for you because I don't have to say this. You know it was, right? Yeah, because there would
Hmm.
be nothing that you could have done anyways. And we both know the way the spirit world works. They would never put that on anybody. They would never put that
Yeah.
on anybody.
Hmm. No, it's very true. But yeah, that was my experience.
Wow, that's
Uh,
really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before too, but it wasn't really like I wasn't doing like a mentorship or anything or mediumship. It was more so like a visit I had for my sister. So I don't know if you know, my sister passed away in
Mm,
2013. It's actually today is 12 years,
wow.
her anniversary. Yeah,
Oh my God.
and I had like the most beautiful visit from her, and it was so clear and it was so beautiful again. I mean, like what I've been shown with afterlife from like with spirit or whatever, it's so beautiful. It's like I can't like I can't give you a detail because it's so beautiful. And
Yeah.
like that's how it was when she was talking to me. And like like we were just face to face, and there was this I remember this kid like that kept like rolling on her and like rolling on her lap and laughing. And I'm like, who is this kid, man? Because it was like I was there again. It was like one of those things where I'm just plucked and I'm there. And I remember, like my sister, I remember I think I can't remember if it was like a miscarriage or like an abortion, but I was like as I was talking to her, it just clicked. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's her daughter,
Yeah.
Um, but it was like just face to face, conversation, and she was just reassuring me. She was like, "I'm okay. Like, I'm fine." And it was so beautiful, and like the grass, like the color green.
Yeah.
We see like green here, but like what I saw was just
Yeah.
I wanted to just like sleep in it, like that's how beautiful it looked. And I remember I woke up and I got in my car, and I remember that morning it was like really cold. But when I first got in my car, I like shut my door, I looked up, and there was a big heart, and the rest of the windshield
Wow.
was all like iced over. Yeah, I was like, this is so awesome.
That's so
Um,
cool.
yeah,
That's incredible. It's
mhm,
incredible. It's like no
yeah,
matter how many, you and me both do this professionally, and it doesn't matter how many experiences we hear, and it's still always, I'll never have a reaction other than wow. When you hear
mhm,
things like this, it's so moving. It's beautiful.
yeah. It is, and I think this is why we love what we do. It's we get to experience these moments with, our sitters or people we do readings for. We get to experience it with them. Like we get to see, we get to see like the light go back into their eyes, and like the smiles, come back instead of, just being so sad. It's like you see that light go back into them. You know what I mean?
I do.
And
And that's why I always say it's an honor and a privilege. And I mean that it's an honor and a privilege to do what we do and to be a part of something so intimate and something that is possibly life changing for people.
mm, yeah, it's so true. Yeah, it is. It's beautiful, and I'm happy we're able to do this. You know, we are. I don't know if we're lucky or if we're just blessed or whatever, but I'm grateful that we're able to experience it. You know.
Yeah. Grateful is the perfect word.
Yeah, I feel like it is too. Um, all right, now I know I just mentioned one, but are there things you absolutely won't discuss or reveal in a reading?
You already mentioned it. So actually, I surprisingly get asked, it's a really common question. People want to know about if somebody in their life is maybe not doing well health wise. The most common question I will get is when will they pass? And I will say that that is something that I won't. First, it's a boundary I have with spirit is that I don't want that responsibility on me. I don't want to be shown that, right? And
Mhm.
also, who am I to say that they would give me that information? I'm not God. That's how I identify, right? So yeah, I will not talk about anything. I will predict the yeah life, not passing. So that is one hard and fast rule is I will not touch on if somebody is going to be getting like severely ill or death days. However, that being said, I will always honor if a past loved one is telling me something I know and I trust it is for a reason. So I will never keep information back if it is something that is borderline on maybe an area that I am not usually comfortable with. I will honor what that person, the soul, is giving me. But they also know not to give me anything like death dates. That's what that is one thing uh I won't go into.
Yeah, yeah, that's hard. You know, that's hard to put on somebody. And I mean, unfortunately, I hear people doing it all the time, and it's not right. You know, it's
And I
not.
get why people ask, like I get it, right? Because it's like I understand it, especially if somebody we love is not doing well. We want to know how much more time we might have with them. We want to know. So on that human level, I get why it's asked, and I can empathize with people. But I also just know that that's not our job. So mediums that will predict things or put fear into other people, I don't think that's quite the ethical thing to do too.
No, it's 100% true, and it's the same thing with like with death is like I remember there was a medium. Um, I forget what he did, but it was something like that where he pretty much told someone they were gonna pass away, and um, unfortunately, that person didn't pass away, but somebody else did.
Oof.
So he put fear into somebody's eyes, and it wasn't even them. And
Yeah.
I know it fucked that person up. So I know the same thing with death, but it's yeah, that's I'm with you there. I don't want to. It's hard, very hard to talk about
Yeah.
because it's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Dana said that both of you are amazing mediums. Love my private readings with each of you.
I
I
love
just wanted to,
Dana.
yeah, I just wanted to share that out to you. That's amazing. Um, and then Dana also said, are some spirits easier to communicate with or more talkative? If so, why do you think that is?
Yeah, for sure. So, absolutely. So the reason that that is because souls will come forward exactly in their personality. They will come forward in their personality. So if let's say I'm channeling like, Uncle Joe and he was an old fart and he wasn't the happiest and he did, so he didn't say a lot. He's going to come through that way. So I as the medium can then translate it to you. Doesn't mean he's not going to start speaking up a little bit more once we get the validations. But at the very beginning, they're going to come through exactly in their personality of how they were while they were here on earth, right? And also something I have found in my mediumship, I get asked all the time, if my past loved one did not believe in this, does that mean they're not going to come through? And it's actually the opposite for me. I find the souls that didn't believe in this will work double time with evidence to push forward because they know that their loved one that's here on earth would be like, I wouldn't believe that they come through to a medium. So not to say that people that did believe while they are here on earth come through weaker, but I just find that those are the souls that will boom, 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 give like incredible evidence. But yeah, some are more chatty. They come through with their personalities. There are some
Mhm.
souls that I'm like, they're funny. Like they're just like how they were when they were here on Earth. They're
Mhm.
just like how they were.
They
What
really
about you,
are.
Michael? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's true, and it's funny too because like you said, with the people that are that weren't weren't believers here on earth or didn't think spirit um or real, whatever. I feel like when they come through, they're like, oh shit, they're like, oh my god, like, it's real, like, and they're so hype and they're so excited, like, oh my, this is so awesome, So I feel like you're right. I feel like they do come through like 2 times harder because it's like they're like, oh my god, this is real, and like they
Yeah,
talk about it and like they're like, oh my, like this is I can't believe we're doing this right now, and like you feel that excitement in their voice when they're
yeah,
talking to you. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I feel like that's so true. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, there's some. It just happens with some spirit too, where they're not as talkative. I mean, it's but like the same thing when they were here. I mean, some people just like to keep some things to themselves. And
yeah,
sometimes spirit are the same way. You know, you just got some people that just don't want to put everything out there, or they don't want to put like very very personal stuff out there. Sometimes it's just they're like, well, I'm here, but like, what's up, like
yeah,
what do you want to talk about, it's just it is what it is. Sometimes there's just some spirit that are just over talkative, and some spirit that are just like, I'm here. Yep, this happened, and I'm okay. I'm okay. Tell them I'm good. All right. I'll see you. It's one of those things. It's every spirit's different, and that's what makes it fun.
yeah. Totally. Every
Not.
every soul is different. It's never. I never. What we do for work, like depending on what hour, it changes. Who's what it's going to be. Right. Our jobs are. Keep it lively for us because we never know what's going to come through or the soul, how that soul is going to be. I've had souls where I'm like laughing and I'm laughing with like the person that's getting the reading because they're feeling the essence of, let's say, their dad who was absolutely hilarious, and like we are laughing as, yes, it's moving, and yes, there's usually tears, but really incredible things will happen in readings, especially with souls with very like distinct personalities. I find.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Like you have that like comedic, like like there's just some people that they're funny when they're not trying to be funny. They're funny just being themselves.
Yeah.
And you feel that when you're doing readings because like I feel like they'll tell you something and then they'll follow up. Like you don't hear like a difference in their voice, but they'll say something almost like it's like just they're not trying to be funny, but it's just the way they talk. It's just funny because that's how they were here. And it's very like very tone comedic where it's just who they are. But you do feel that too. I mean, I at least feel it, but it's like they'll follow up with something just so funny, but it's like
They
the
don't
way they
try
said
to
it was
be. Yeah.
serious. Yeah. And it's like, dude, I swear it's like they're the same exact way they were here. Like nothing has changed about them,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
that spirit right there. Like
Yeah.
that's everything about spirit is themselves. Do you think spirit have ever unfinished business, things left unsaid, or is it more about the living needing closure?
It's about the living needing closure. So I always say this to people, like your past loved ones are okay because I have never seen it any other way. If I was one day to see it in any other way, I would share that. But where I'm at with my mediumship and all my years of doing this, I have never seen a soul that is like, I'm not okay because I didn't get to say X, Y, and Z or this or that. It's never that. So souls will often talk about and bring up the things that were left unsaid. They will talk about the traumatic things that maybe their passing did
Mm-hmm.
to the living. They will talk about very hard things, right? But they do this because they are bringing forward that person's healing. It's what they need to hear. It's 100% what that person needs to hear. Things need to be validated around their passing or why they left, especially when people leave us traumatically. People leave us at their own hands. And the soul will always bring forward what that person not wants to hear, but what they need to hear. I've done a lot of difficult readings where like people have left this earth, um, at the hands of somebody else, and maybe they don't get answers. I've had souls that will give those deeper answers. I've had souls that will not, because they know if it will
Mm-hmm.
help you and if it is what you need, they will give those answers. If it is not, they will not. So I've just come to trust it. But at the end of the day, to answer the question, it is always for the living. It's always for the living.
Hmm. That's very true. It is. Yeah. I mean, like I've had readings before where, like, unfortunately, like, the person that passed did some things in his lifetime that they weren't proud of and that were,
Yep.
like pretty bad. And, the person that I'm doing the reading for, they truly did not know. Like they just never got the honest answer. And sometimes the spirit will bring through that honest answer. But I think it's more so just to not, because I at that point I don't know if it's closure or just to get that off of your shoulders, to get it off your head because you've been carrying it around for so long. It's like it's not even yours to carry. But I think it's to like just give that relief to you, it's just so so you can just move forward and just like leave it where it is and like heal, like finally heal from it.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like that part is definitely happened with me. Now, beginning to end, right? Not beginning to end, but beginning with starting mediumship to now. Like where has your journey taken you from when you first started doing readings to now? Like where has it taken you? What have you noticed about yourself, and how has the journey been?
The journey, I mean, that's a deep that's a deep question. There's lots of layers on that one. But in a nutshell, I'll just try to answer the best I can. It has been the most rewarding thing for me, and also at times the most difficult thing, right? Because I carry so much weight on myself. If I want to, especially when I first started mediumship, I wanted to get things right. I wanted to do the best job for the people coming to me for readings. I still want that, right? I still want that, of course. So I think it was a lot of learning to like let the expectations and me being perfect, letting that go, start compared from starting to where I'm at now, and just trusting that what comes through is going to come through, and that's what that person should have heard. I also don't need as much validation in my own life, whether it's through sessions or just in my personal life. If I know I'm doing my best, if I know I'm delivering the message, if I know I'm moving through my own personal life the best, that's enough.
Hmm.
That's enough. I don't have to prove it to anybody but the person that I'm reading for, and my own self, right? So it's just giving me a lot more whereabouts of myself. So and I'm always, yeah, just developing, like we've talked about before already. um Mediumship in a very short amount of time, significantly, since like I've started to go back on TikTok the last few months.
Hmm.
It's already taking me to places I never thought of, and opening up doors and things happening. And so I'm always grateful, and I'm always humble, and I'm finally at a place. I had a lot of years of not wanting to be here, so I'm finally really at a place, and I have been for a while, but to really still be moving from that place of what's next. I'm excited to see what's next instead of dread, right?
Hmm.
So, and it's just a blessing. Like I've said, I take it really seriously, and I do, and that will never leave me. And the day that it does, I'll stop doing this, because it's a big, not responsibility isn't the right word, but it's an honor and a privilege, and I want to always give the best messages I can, and that involves
Hmm.
me being the best person that I can, right? Taking care of myself, honoring myself, doing all these things, right? So that I
Hmm.
can therefore be there for my clients.
Yeah, that's well said, and it's very true. It is. Like this, I feel like this needs to be done from a really good place, and the meaning behind it is what's important. But I feel like you give so many people so much, not just closure, but so much happiness. And I see when you do readings, you bring so much joy into people's lives, and the way you just, I think what helps the most with giving people this is the confidence behind how you do it, and like you said, fully trusting yourself. Because I feel like when you're like that and you're giving, you're reading it, I feel like it just does so much more to the reading and so much more to the sitter. It just reassures them, because giving an answer that you're like, you can just notice the shakiness in the voice, or you notice the, um, the like do I like you give it so confidently, and I feel like that helps out so much with giving that reassurance and just having full trust. And I feel like, when you give those answers, I feel like people completely 100% not just trust you, but it helps them so much. It helps them heal. It helps them just truly leave and just be like, man, like I feel so much better right now. And I feel like when you do that for people, it really, really does. It I don't want to say it saves people, but I feel like, like you're there. It's to the point of really, really helping. And
Mm,
it's just really nice to see. It is.
thank you. That's like the biggest compliment. I take that to heart. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael.
Of course. It's very true. And I know I've asked you before, but what's next for you? Because it's funny, Katie asked that same question. I'll pin it for you, but what's next for you? Any projects you have coming up? Anything that you have going on? And what do you want to do moving forward?
I don't know. I'm completely open to see where the next chapter leads me, right? So no, I don't have anything planned right now. Like I'm really focused on my private sessions. Like I'm really busy doing private sessions, which I'm very grateful for. My lives, I'm just going to say yes. That's the part of the deal. I'm just going to say yes to things as they come up. But right now, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And I'm going to just still be doing on the TikTok world, giving a big part of me for me is being able to give back, right? Being able to
Hmm.
give back. And so TikTok allows me that platform that I can come on, and not everybody's in the position to afford a reading. Not everybody would have ever thought to seek out a medium that scroll into my FYP, right? That's the main number one thing I get when I read for people is they go, I don't even know how you came on my algorithm. So for me, giving back in this way is the biggest goal like I have for myself, or the part that I enjoy the most. Um, but yeah, that's kind of keep doing what I'm doing because I love what I do.
Just wait to see what happens, right?
Right, that's it.
Yeah. Just wait to see what happens, see what comes next. Just taking it day by day and just I think enjoying the moment as you go along, right? Just enjoying it, just being in the moment. That's very
Yeah.
important too. So I like that answer. It's a good answer. Um, and the last question I have for you
Mhm.
before, after you ask this question, I want you to just also tell everybody where they can find you and everything, like your socials, your website, whatever, wherever you have places that, you do your mediumship on, just make sure you tell everybody so they can go find you and follow you and book a reading with you. But what messages, what message do you have for the world? What message do you have for everybody in here right now? Um, what can you tell them? What do you think will help? What message you have?
That you're enough. And I know it sounds cliche, right? But you're enough. And if you are struggling in any way, that you're enough, that there's a reason for your life, and that you're probably making a difference in somebody's life and you're not even aware of that. You're not even aware of that. And that hardships don't define you. The things that you get dealt with in this life don't define you. The other traumas that people have put on you don't define you. All that matters is that you're showing up and answering for yourself and those the ones closest to you every single day, right?
Mhm.
And getting to know yourself is the most important part. Loving yourself, right? And
Yes.
knowing that there is an afterlife. And that, it's attainable if you're looking to experience it more. I always encourage people to start, meditating for themselves, do development circles. There's just so many resources out there for you to see
Mhm.
if you're skeptical that there is more
Yeah.
after life. Yeah.
There's a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it's. I feel like it's good. Like go watch different mediums. Just it's nice. It's not just like for support reasons, but see how the other people work. Like I said, we're all different in what we do.
Yeah.
But that's what makes everybody unique in how we do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but that's well said. You're definitely loved, and you know, don't ever forget that because that's important. A lot of days we can wake up and, like you said, not want to be here, but I promise there's somebody out there. Yeah, but whether you know it or not, you may even know it and you may just ignore it. But I promise you that that this life does matter and you are loved. Just like Marie said.
Yeah.
Um, so where can they go find you at?
So I am on TikTok. I'm on TikTok. My name is Media Marie. The actual at, if you are familiar with TikTok, is not yours 10, 11, 12.
Okay.
Uh, I wasn't really thinking that'd be my handle. I didn't have it full, but it's somebody very significant to me. That's their birthday. Um, So yeah, I'm on TikTok under Media Marie. Also to get in contact with me, it's mediamarie333 at gmail.com. And that's where I am as of now. That's where I am and where you can find me and where what social I'm on most.
Very, very nice. So yeah, make sure you guys go follow her on TikTok if you're not already following her. And I believe to book a reading with you, right? That's what they do. They go through your email.
No, it was in TikTok. There's a link tree, and
Oh,
but
okay, okay.
it's like a booking site. It's not actually a website.
Okay. So yeah, if you're looking to book with her, yeah, like you say, go to her link tree, and that's where you guys can go book. And please go do it because I promise you will not regret it. I've been watching her even before she knew I was watching her. I like to just
No.
watch a lot of times before I say things, but she's definitely incredible. And I promise you'll leave there extremely happy. But again, you're going to leave a lot happier than you did when you first get into the meeting with her. So make sure you guys go follow her. She truly is special. That is for sure.
Thank you,
Of
Michael.
course, and thank you so much for coming up tonight. I appreciate it so much, and I'm glad I was able to just talk to you about this because it's not only is it important, but I feel like it's just nice to hear everyone's journey. Um,
Yeah.
you appreciate things a lot more, and um, like you said, everyone's journey is different, and I think it's just special to hear it because it kind of like I don't want to say like it sparks that flame because it never went out, but it definitely makes you want that spark to get even brighter and brighter and brighter with mediumship. So I love hearing it. It keeps me motivated for sure. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. Thanks for sharing. I learned a lot about you tonight too, so I appreciate that as well.
Of course, of course. Um, but yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here. Everyone asking the questions. I love when everybody asks questions. It's please don't stop. It's important to ask questions. Always do it. Don't ever not ask questions. Like, don't be scared. But we appreciate all the questions and everyone that just supported us tonight. Thank you so much. But yeah, do you have any last words you want to say before we
No,
end tonight?
this was fun. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everybody that's on here and was supporting. Appreciate and love all of you.
Of course. But all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tonight, and everyone have a beautiful night. Be safe, and don't forget you're loved. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.